Okay, good evening, Ammies fans, and welcome to another episode of Dirty Old Podcast with the usual suspects. Gav.
Hello.
Danny Boy.
Howdy.
And myself, Coops. You might better know me as the person who likes to kick the ball from the halfway line.
Oh.
Anyway, just get that one in. I just wanted to a quick note. A lot of people, we've got some good numbers of people viewing on YouTube. I know sometimes they're a bit of a long listen, but I hope now that obviously we brought Danny on board as well. Not to say Gavin Rousey don't add anything, by the way. We've got some different opinions and we get some good content in there. So I would say, look, if you listen to the first 5 or 10 minutes, listen to a bit more, and if you don't, at least give it a subscribe. At least it helps us boost the channel as well, so we can get it out to more people.
I wouldn't bother. It's crap.
No, in fact, just turn it off now. Not 5 minutes.
Turn it off.
Reverse psychology won't work. Right, chaps, we've not had one since before Christmas, so I hope, do you have a good Christmas, New Year?
Not too bad, thank you.
Good. I hope all the... Sorry?
And yourself?
Not bad. Had a good Boxing Day, obviously. I don't want to talk about that again.
You've been messaging me every day for 2 weeks about it.
Gav's been texting me, keeps on saying, when you're sending over some half of that winnings. I said I put it all on black for him. I put his share on roulette and it came in red, so he lost. You know, it's the way it is. It's gambling. When the fun stops, stop.
Thanks for gambling for me.
Guys, we've got lots to go through. We've got Barrow, Grimsby, and Bradford to quickly go over. Say quickly go over. That's kind of what we talk about the most. We've got Northampton this weekend coming up. With the £5 offer. We'll go into a bit more detail. I want to start off with something that we kind of could have mentioned on the last podcast, and somebody came back to me and said, can you maybe discuss it a bit more? Is the AJ Bell move that was just before, I think it was the day before we did the podcast last time, was announced that Salford Council was going to buy it, and kind of that meant that the move was going to be off for us in the future. Is that... We're still in League Two. We're in and around playoffs. Is it a good or bad thing that that's now off? Or
do you want to go on that, Gav?
Well, it's pretty piss poor, really, because obviously Gary Neville and the Red Devils chairman, was it, who had a chat with us 2 summers ago, and obviously the deal was put forward by the council, what have you, and the deal was agreed by Sharks, Salford, and the council. September 21. So from September 21 until this summer, it was then agreed that Salford wouldn't play there, would stay at Moor Lane for another year, then would move the year after. In between all that time, what's happened, I think, is the council's gone, well, what's happening at Salford? Is there any preparations for rugby going though? Are they helping us a little bit? Because Salford doesn't need to help them or nothing. And I think Salford's just gone, well, we're buying the ground, we own our ground, it's in your court. And I think Red Devils, did they get a new owner? And the council's gone, well, if we buy Peel's half, we can actually make our money back. And I think we've missed out on it. And I think the small print as council's gone, small print here, right, Salford, sod you've not really helped us in any way. We can actually finance it ourselves, and we've been left at Moor Lane, which isn't fit for rugby or football really at an higher level. So I think it's very disappointing. And where's it about to move to next? Are they about to be saying we're going to Bury? Are they about to be saying we're going to Rochdale? Obviously not. I'm taking a mick, but it's disappointing for me. Like I said, the deal was done, and something in between, whether it's arrogance from Salford or whether it's a council just gone, we've got a big pot of money, actually, we don't need you anymore, and push Salford aside and sell. I'm not sure. But it's disappointing because, like I said, although we didn't necessarily want to move, we have to. Full stop, we have to. Moor Lane's not good enough for a League One team. It's not good enough really for a rugby Premiership team either, really.
Yeah.
But that's how it is, and I'm disappointed, to be honest.
Danny, you got anything to add to that, pal?
Not a massive amount. I mean, I won't say I got shot down on the message board, but my initial reaction was I'm kind of pleased because I like my routine of going to the ground that we're at. You know, I mean, that's that's just my personal take on it. But looking at when we come to the matches that we're covering, the 3 matches that we're going to look at in this episode, it's like they all in their own ways make me think that this is one of the best teams in the league, which potentially means we could be going up this or next season. So there is a pressure to do something to reflect that we could be in a higher division quite soon. But on a very, very selfish personal note, I do like the fact that, I walk 4 miles from Eccles and it's absolutely great. I suppose it's not that far from the AJ Bell from where I live either, so it's a bit of a toss up. But I just like my routine, going to the windmill before the match, getting a pint in. It's great,
I agree with you to 100%. That was my initial thoughts was about, but thinking about football and a football club, realistically, Moor Lane's not good enough for a League Two team. I saw for now. The actual match day experience for going to Moor Lane is actually really poor when you look at football league. To be honest, I'm not saying everyone else is great either. I think the standard is quite poor around, but shouldn't we be getting that a bit better? And the AJ Bell, although it was out of my way and out of a lot of people's way to get there, I think the facilities within the stadium are much better.
I think, to be fair, we can't really compare ourselves to any other club because, quite frankly, what other clubs do is entirely up to them. We're not a fan of that club, So we're talking about our experience in our, away games. You'll know more than me, Gav, because you go to the away games more. But it is what it is. The away day experience it is what it is. You can't change as a Salford fan. You just have to embrace it, whatever it is. But Salford is a place where you're going to go all the time. I mean, I think every Salford fan would probably kind of agree that although we all want to stay at Moor Lane because it has that history, it's for old and new fans, pre takeover, you've got the 100 fans that used to go. That's been their club for many years. You've got the committee members, and then you've got the post takeover where a lot of new fans are that's where they experienced non-league football, and that's where they became a Salford City fan. And I think there's probably a little, not to go into politics, I think there's probably politics involved, isn't there, when it comes to Salford Council, and I'm sure other people have got their opinions on Salford Council. I've seen things floating about, well, how can they afford to buy a stadium when actually things need improving within the region of Salford and things like this. Where, could they have done a deal where the council still have a percentage maybe, or are still able to use it for functions of their own benefit? Why do they need to own a stadium? I don't know, but it's more to do with land, I would imagine.
Martin, I think it's a point is it costs, let's say, approximate monies we'll send out. So it's cost 30 million for Peel and the council to build it, and obviously they've been paying, not having much rent from the Red Devils either. So let's say it was £15 million each. So they were selling it, let's say, to Gary Neville and Co. for 10 million. So they were getting 5 million back and losing 10. If they then give Peel 5 million, so they've now spent 20, and in 3 years they sell it for 22 million to the Red Devils, then they've gone from a -10 to breaking even. I think that's where the figures come in from the council. I don't think they're necessarily doing anything wrong. I think it makes sense for the council to actually own it for a few years, and then once it's quieting down, like say, the new owner of the Red Devils might have some money, and there you go, there's 22 million, and it basically breaks them even. I think that's what's happening more than anything.
It does raise a question, and I'm sure it'll be addressed at the next fans forum, because I think
it doesn't really matter now, does it?
It doesn't matter now, but it is going to be a question that's going to be pointed towards. We all say Gary Neville and Co, but we'll say Nicky Butt and Co because he's now the CEO. And say, okay, that moves off. What is Plan B now? Where are we thinking of going? Because we already know space is very, very, very little in Salford nowadays. But anyway. But we'll leave that to the board. We're at the moment we're at Moor Lane, and we're going to carry on in where we belong at the moment.
Martin, could you not put your 600 quid towards some land?
I can buy the centre spot, mate.
Oh, it's probably
that'll do.
Need a bit more.
That'll do.
Both sides of Lincoln just down the road, yeah.
I've spent most of it anyway. No, I need some money for my season ticket next season. Right, chaps. Barrow now. I see mixed. I'm not going to say too much on this. Going to leave it to you guys. But I mean, I saw a little bit of mixed reactions on for the Barrow game. I don't know. At home, we drew, was winning. Obviously, there's people that are disappointed with Hendry and stuff like that. But it was kind of just disappointing in the result overall. I disagree, but if I'll see what your thinking.
Why do you disagree? Go on, give us a bit of taste of your thoughts.
Well, it was always going to be a tough game going into it, wasn't it? We knew Barrow weren't in the greatest of forms. However, they were in the playoff spots, so they have to be respected. I point the only Salford fan who didn't really think Hendry was a red card. And I'll explain why. Because people were saying he went in from behind. The Barrow player actually turned, so he was facing Hendry as the tackle came in. And for me, his left foot for Hendry is going a lot. It's a hard tackle, and he doesn't need to make it. So I can accept all those points. But for me, it wasn't 2-footed. It was he went in with his left, which was on the ground, but it was a strong tackle, and it was his right leg that then followed up and kind of chopped him in a scissor motion, which, okay, it can be dangerous. However, that right leg has to follow the left leg. It's got to follow some way somehow. It was a hard tackle, but we talk about football being soft these days. I suppose in the new era of football, it's a red card, I suppose, but it's a strong tackle, and yeah, he got hurt. It's a contact sport. I think if he really wanted to hurt him, he could have gone over the top of the ball. He could have gone more halfway up the leg, but he didn't. He's gone along the ground. It's actually the right leg. It's not his leading leg that's fouled him. It's his right leg. I thought it was a strong tackle. I thought it was a yellow card. But anyway, I think leading up to that, I thought we was comfortable. I actually thought we was quite comfortable, even with 10 men down. I thought we showed some good spirit. All right, they hit the crossbar. They had a goal that wasn't given. Debatable. I think Torres just over, and the image that was on Facebook, I thought was might have shown a little bit of green between the line, but it could have been a Japan, couldn't it? It could have been balls just overlapping by a centimetre. But I was impressed. I was impressed on that for that game, to be honest, with how it went. It's going down to 10 men, battling for 60 minutes of the game and getting a result, getting a point out of it.
Yeah, I'd agree with a lot. The only thing I wouldn't agree with, again, I wouldn't necessarily say that I see the tackle itself as exactly the same as yourself, Martin, on that. But that's the only thing I disagree on. In terms of what I was feeling before Hendry got red carded, I was thinking, oh yeah, I can live with this, because it just felt like, we were holding our own. I thought I was going to learn a load from the game, and I don't think, apart from working hard and ending up drawing, which is a creditable thing, going down to 10 men after 30 odd minutes. I think I think I put in my post that it was just, I feel like I got a bit robbed, because I got to a game to see an even contest. There's always a chance people get red carded. What I do blame Hendry for it, as well as it being a very poor tackle for me, is that when he came on, I think in the Papa John's against Bradford, all he did was nowhere near as bad as those tackles, but all he was doing was real nasty stuff. And I just thought, well, there's far more to you than that. And again, going back to something I'd written on the message board, there were two things in that game, amazing bits of skill that Hendry done. There was like a volleyed back heel to set up Ibu for a cross on one wing, and the other flank where he got sent off from, he'd done something really good about 10 seconds before. So it's like, what's the point? I even question whether Neil Wood was sending him out like an ice hockey enforcer, to start putting a bit of boot on people. But I'm not quite sure Neil Wood looks at the game like that. As an actual overall, I think it's great to hold out when you're getting another team coming on to you for like 60 minutes. I think that's fair enough. But I think there's far more that I felt I learned about what the manager's trying to do, tactical what we're trying to do from the two games after that.
Gav?
Yeah, so 2 points is, one, again, I don't think it was a red card. But if you give the referee the option, it's an easy red card for him to give. He should have stayed on his feet. But I honestly don't think that it was a red card. Again, opinions. But again, I also think it was super easy for the ref to go, "You're off, mate." Gone down to 10 men. You guys have said it. To be honest, I try not to learn too much when a team's playing 10 against 11. I know you can look into it too much, but you two, I think, said enough. I think plain and simple, we held our own, and it was a good point.
Yeah, I think just to reinforce what I was saying, going down to 10 men, sometimes we've played teams with that have been down to 10 men, and usually it's harder to break them down because, and that's the thing. Usually though, teams then sit back and they're hard to break down when they go to 10. What I really liked about that was we wasn't afraid to commit and go forward even with 10 men, because we played just the same amount of chances with Henry on the pitch than we did without. But like you say, I think to your point, Danny, I think it's probably a red card coming for Henry. However, we got to base it on that game, and again, that's just opinions. But I think the majority of Salford fans reckon it was a red card, and that's absolutely fine. I just think all the Salford fans are wrong, and it was. But against the one person, I mean, let's talk about the ball as well. That what put in. I mean, what a ball that it was played back. Was it played back from Torre? He took one touch out his feet on a half turn, and he's pinged the 40-yard diagonal ball, and that Smith's going to get on the end of it. I'd question their goalkeeper's positioning. I think he was a bit too close to his near post. That's why he struggled to get back. However, really don't care because it was a great goal. Sorry, go on, Danny.
No, all I wanted to say, just while I'm thinking, you triggered it by talking about I think in the previous podcast I was questioning, what's mobility and a bit of a big lad, and again, some of it's a reiteration of what I put on my message on the message board, but I do think that looking at him in the 3 games that we're covering in this podcast, it's like that guy can move. He's got a real engine on him. I think his role's slightly changed, which I'll come back to later on. But I think I was wrong. I think he can definitely hold his own in this team. He's not slowing everything down, which is what I initially was saying. And I'll put a pin in it for now. But yeah, I'm going to hold my hands up and say, yeah, I think Watt has got more to him, even on the physical side, even on the mobility side, than I first thought. And that Barrow game was when I first started seeing it. The ground the guy was covering, I suppose he had to as well. We were down, a man down, but props to him.
He listened to a podcast and he reacted.
They always do. Yeah.
Well, I always say there's different levels of opinions in terms of how you view opinions. Is that you'll give your opinion based on, say, like what. So I think it's best to see him over a period of time. 3 to 5 games. And then sometimes we'll base an opinion on, look, football's about emotions. You get beat, and just in one game, the whole team's crap. He can't kick a ball. He can't save a ball. Matt Smith can't head a ball. And, you've got that kind of one game kind of reaction. I think best off to view it. And like you say, after 3 or 5 games is the best way. And the 3 games that we played in terms of Barrow, Grimsby and Bradford is a good indicator of that. Of the teams that are in that league and how Watt can perform against those teams in League Two. I just wanted to point out, to be fair, the equaliser for Barrow was, must admit, was a cracking strike. I'm not going to lie, that was an absolute belter. Outside the boot, cross, brilliant. Keeper didn't move. Anyway, don't want to give him too much credit. Still crap. Then we went into Thursday the 29th. I think my dates are correct. 29th of December, midweek, over to that place where they do a bit of fishing. We played. What's that, Gav? Southport as well, yeah. Grimsby, 4-1 boys. Do we expect? I don't think. Normally Gav goes for a big win, and that would have been the time he would have nearly got it right. But I don't think he did predict that kind of a scoreline. Gav, what do you think of that one?
That one and the actual Bradford one, I was shocked about both of them, to be quite honest. So the Grimsby bomb, plain and simple. What happened? And I might actually talk about Grimsby because I normally try to take something from them. Their manager's gone before the game, got his tactical board out. He's gone, lads, playing Salford today. So this is how we're about to attack him. We're about to do this, that. Got him, do that. Come on, we're about to beat him. Let's have it. Let's go out. And he forgot about defending and about practically everything else apart from let's just go and attack him. The amount of space Grimsby left us, when we get space, we're a really good team. It's probably a good sign of good footballers. And it reminded me very much like Colchester away last season. I think we were winning 3-0 or 4-0 at half time. And everyone was like, oh, wait, we're world champions now. But it was the amount of space which gets left. And for me, it was Grimsby I think they just turned up to like, we're about to beat this Salford. We're about to score 2 or 3 past them. And what Salford were, and I might be shocked by this comment going out, it was just clinical. We put the ball in early. And Smith put it in the back of the net. Like I think he just had his eyes closed and just go, yeah, I'll have another. It seemed too easy for him. The second half, obviously, it's about roll out a little bit different. But yeah, no, I like I said, I thought they turned up to say we're about to smash this Salford. And the amount of space they left us, Watt was just smacking it forward. Toby was getting down the land. Smith, like you say, he was having the field day. So yeah, that's what I saw from it. Second half obviously was quite a lot different, but yeah, it's we was clinical. We was talked about what before his forward passing, his movement, and everyone talks about Galbraith because he runs around like an headless chicken and what have you. To a certain extent, I think everyone had a good game for Salford, and we did the job as it came to us. So we wasn't slow starting. We didn't wait till the second half until we got going. We actually just went boom, 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 boom. Job's done. Let's make sure we go home and with these 3 points. And yeah, it was that's just plain and simple. And I didn't expect that. I expected Grimsby to be a lot tighter, and that's why I was like shocked.
Danny, when I don't know if you agree with this, we scored early. We scored in the first minute when it 53 seconds, I think it was, something like that. We seem to play all right. I think I'm trying to think back now. I think we played up good football for the first 10 minutes. We got the early goal. We got settled into the game. But I think it was between 10 and 20 minutes where we kind of really switched off. There was still a period of time where we looked a bit vulnerable, where we just didn't play the way it was in that first 10 minutes. Over to you, Danny.
Yeah. For me, it was similar to Gavin in the sense that I was kind of reeling. I feel that Matt Smith seemed to. I think his goal, which actually was with his feet, the one that went over the keeper,
the
third goal, he slipped, I think. But great, what a beautiful goal! You know that I've not reacted to a goal like that.
He does that in training every week.
Yeah, it was great that. But that. What that game taught me, I believe, was purely that we've got without talking about actual captains, without people with armbands on. I think we've got 2 generals running 2 halves of the team, and I think Watt is running the back 5, and I now think Galbraith is running the front 5. It's something that when I've been thinking about it, because I think it was possibly. The one game in a recent podcast we did, and I was saying I was really pleased to see us play without Watt. He didn't play at all. Was it in the Papa John's against Bradford, maybe?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, that from memory, that's what I thought. And we were able to shift the ball around a lot quicker. And I thought, oh, this is interesting. And I think what he's done now, both thought Watt's back, as he should be, but Galbraith's still around. So I think anything that almost like beyond the halfway line or beyond the centre circle is kind of Galbraith's domain. That's where it needs to be really quick and really precise and really intricate. And anything kind of, because he's very defensively responsible, Watt, for me, unbelievably so. I've missed that somehow early this season, but the amount of tracking that he's doing is incredible. So I'm just looking at us now with like 2 teams of 5, back 4 plus Watt, and then Galbraith seems to be running us in the front part. Yet the second half, a little bit, in a sense, you can't read too much into it when a team is just obviously going to come at you. We're happy to take the points. We just want to get it over with. But I love the tempo that we're playing at. I don't know where it's come from. It must be something that Neil Wood, he was saying a few weeks ago, if not over a month ago, he was saying he was seeing a load of good things in training, and none of us believed him because we couldn't see it on the pitch. But now it's happening. It's all clicking into place. People seem to be comfortable in what they're doing, and I think when we get into talking about Bradford, then that's where, yes, we lost, but I think it was a great game. We had a bit of a lull. I agree in the first half. That was what you were saying, Martin. I agree with that. But we deserved to be comfortable, and we ended up real comfortable.
Yeah, I mean, I thought when Grimsby equalised, I thought, oh, here we go, it's going to be one of them games. And then it kind of, they went the other way after their goal. I thought they would kick on because leading up to the goal, the 5 minutes leading up to the goal, Grimsby were looking quite good and tired. They came into the game, looked more organised. They seemed to have just settled into the game, got the goal, and I thought, I mean, to be fair, I mean, people were saying, it was a foul on Nate. He got nudged. Anyway, whatever happened, he didn't get the foul. And you could see it as soon as that throw-in was taken. You could see exactly what was going to happen. You just knew what was going to happen. You knew he was going to backheel that overlap run centre. You knew the ball was going to be squared, and it was a good finish. It was a good goal, and they absolutely caught us. And that's the only thing is, as good as we are going forward, look, if we score more goals than them, I really don't care. But I do care a little bit that, defensively, I hope we learn from that as well. I think it was a little bit naive, either thinking that we was going to get a free kick. But either way, if Nate is over there, why isn't there somebody covering him? It's as simple as that. But yeah, and to be fair, how good was Smith's first goal on that volley? I never expected him to finish that, to be fair.
Yeah. So going back to what Dan just said a minute ago, when you said, "Oh, I believe we got 2 leaders," I actually thought you was about to say Tom King and Watt.
No,
that's what came in my head. And
okay.
like say, I with the Grimsby game and even the Bradford game, I think the Galbraith, where he shines up is when we get space, especially with someone with the amount of energy and ability of him, he shines. But like I say, I still think Watt is the driving force going forward as well, personally. Yeah, I thought you was about to say Tom King, to be honest, because like you said, every time I go, I always hear him barking his orders. I thought he's the first one who's leader in that team. He is the leader, and then like I said, Watt is as well. Like I said, I think Martin said it. How many times has Martin said it where he said he gets pissed off when someone loses a ball, when he gets angry, he's chasing everyone down. Even if we're getting beat 2-0, he's still at it, or we're winning 2-0. So again. So I thought you was about to say them 2, to be honest. So I thought.
I think playing. I know. Obviously, Danny's. In fairness, every time he comes on the podcast, Danny, he's got a lot to say about whether it's bad or good. But at least he's giving opinions on both sides. So we can't say that. Danny Boy really loves Watt.
He's saying loads of nice things about Watt today.
But one thing you see Watt, and I want something I wanted to mention as well, because like you just said there, Gav, I've pointed out Watt in terms of that he's young but shows that leadership quality. I was watching him. I think he did it against Grimsby, and I think he does it every time on the lineup when they're shaking hands. He sort of stands behind and he's sort of halfway walking up the line and back, like shouting and giving everybody, like, come on, psyching everybody up. And then he falls back in line, shakes the hand. He's really, really fired up. He wants everybody to get fired up with him. He wants everybody to be on the same level as him. But it's good. He's, as you say, Danny, I think plays the best team we've got on paper. Where we finish up in the season will define whether it's our best team or not. Even if we didn't, I'm sure that'd be up to opinions, but it's good. And to be fair, one thing we struggle with, to Gav's point, we're a bit more clinical. Look at the goals we have scored in the last 3 games, 7 goals in 3 games, which might not sound massive, but for us, that's quite good.
Can I just put one more thing in on this game before we move on? Because I think we're going to be talking about this player when we cover in the Bradford game. But from memory, I don't remember McElhenney doing nothing in the Grimsby game. He was quite, I believe he was, I know what he can do, and he proved it against Bradford, but especially when we were creating the goals in the first half, it was like will-o'-the-wisp. He's like, where's he gone? But fine, we still won. We still got a 4-goal advantage or a 3-goal advantage. It's fine, but just interesting that in a game where we had space, you know, he really great point there from Gav. But for some reason, McElhenney was subdued.
I think he was getting fitness, wasn't he? I think he came off in 70th minute or something. I think it was
Possibly.
more fitness. I think he was trying. I remember him trying, but like I say, it just wasn't happening, was it?
Yeah.
He was saying, he's like, look, Smith, Galbraith, you boys have got this game. I'll get the goals in the Bradford game. Gaffer, bring me off. I'm done now. I'll save my legs for Bradford.
I need a warm drink.
So, boys, we're flying through, which is good. Going into the Bradford game on New Year's Day. Now, I know when we did the pod last time, Bradford away is any team that goes to or you know, Valley Parade, but call it what's it called, the University of Bradford Stadium, whatever it is now. You know, you know what you're going into. It's like a lion's den. I think was there 17,000 people there or something.
17,243.
There you go.
I'm guessing it was something like that.
But you know, that's a massive game, and for League Two players, who doesn't want to go to Bradford away and play in front of that many people? I thought it was a really good game, which I thought was unlucky to come away with nothing. That's where I'm leaving it, chaps, and let you take the front on it. Who wants to go first on Bradford?
Who went first last time?
I think it's you now, Gav. I think I've had my ping pong. Yeah.
It's passed the baton. Oh, Gav's
my
mic's
phone's not
gone.
working. Yeah. Well, yeah. As you just said, then basically it was a game for the fans. Any fan, neutrals were a lot, and that's what surprised me. I expected something totally different. And apart from, I'll go to something about the end of a match. I think again, talk about the managers pre-match. I think Hughes and Wood went to a pub at lunchtime, had a pint, and they said, right, what we'll do is we've good enough beat you. Do you think you're good enough to beat us? Yes. Right, let's show it on the pitch. Let's give the fans a football match. And they just went out to beat each other. It was like the best team wins. There was no, let's be defensive, let's do this, let's slow him down, let's do this. It was just a game of football, and every fan wants to see that. And the reason I said this really probably is because normally you don't. Normally you do see a bit more defensive something, because the points are more important than how good you look. You get the points. It doesn't matter how good you look, especially in these leagues, the lower leagues. So that surprised me massively. A lot of people I've seen mentioning Tom King, and it shocked me because I'm like, I actually didn't think he was bad. I'm not saying he's great because of his some of his, but I'm not saying. I was like, why are you picking out Tom King? It was like, if we would have scored 4, we would have won. Tom wasn't scoring them. The first goal definitely wasn't Tom King's fault because it got headed, then deflected off Theo's head and what have you. The other one which crossed over, I'm honestly, for a League Two game and for people to be saying Tom King this, Tom King that, I was shocked.
Should he have been? Sorry, Gav. I know you. I don't want to stop you in your flow, but just because you mentioned that point, because it was something I was going to mention. Right. Do you not think that King should have been coming for that ball though?
Which one? The first one?
Yeah. So if the stell's already there,
very simple. It was like it was a David Beckham sort of era, i.e., it was an early cross. So it was a deep cross very early. So it caught King and the defence off guard. So not a chance in the world. You got your 2 central defenders who you believe are good central defenders. You got Nate and Vassell with 1 striker. You go and clatter them or they've scored. King, it was never King's ball. It was Vassell's ball all day. Because it was early, Vassell was stuck on his heels, and their striker is obviously a decent header as well. That's why you got in. It was plain and simple. It was a good early ball. That's what won a goal. Wasn't necessarily the defender's fault. Yes, he was flat-footed. King shouldn't have come from it. It was the early ball won that goal. Full stop.
I think where sorry, Dan. I know you want to come in there. And again, I'm only coming in now because that was one thing I was going to mention. Was
you think he should have come out then?
I thought I don't think it was King's best game, to be honest, and I'll give you some examples. I think Go back to the Grimsby again. I think sometimes the decision making is what lets him down a little bit. We all know he can save the ball, and as Roy Keane will go, of course he should be a good shot stopper. He's a goalkeeper, but he is a good shot stopper. He did it against Grimsby when obviously then he clawed one off the line. You know, again, another ball that he's coming for. Should he be coming for it? You know, again, now he's off his line. In Bradford, there was a couple of times there was free kicks that were going in, and he was kind of coming into where the line would then drop with the attackers. He's then coming to match the line, to come and punch it, and I'm just thinking, you don't need to be coming for that. That's just my personal opinion.
He should come for the first one, but not the other ones.
I don't think there's many that he should have come from, to be fair, because well,
again, I'm not saying he had a great game. I'm just saying, end of the day, these are League Two players. We could realistically say Torre shouldn't be playing any games. And to be honest, he's created 3 goals in the last 2 games, I think he has, because he only gets 1 out of 10 crosses into the box. So if he messes up 9 times, 9 opportunities we lose because of him. So like you say, you got to have a bit of give and take. And for me, I don't think Tom King was, like I said, it was a game of football where if it was 7-7, it would have been a great game, and people would have still said it was Tom King's fault.
Go on, Danny.
I have totally missed this about the idea of thinking that Tom King has any culpability in any of these goals personally, because it didn't even occur to me. I was obviously looking at so many things that happen in a game. It's just like that was not on my radar. But one thing from that goal, from Bradford's opener, was who was closing down the early cross. Well, it's a little bit kind of breaking into my tactical analysis of it, because I think it was McElhenney, and yes, it was an early ball, but our approach now, from what I'm seeing, is we're not stopping crosses or even attempting to stop crosses with our fullbacks anymore. We're not interested in that. Our fullbacks, I think it's something I'm going to credit Gav with this, because I'm sure he was talking about how narrow we are in our area. We're even narrower than the penalty area. We literally we do not stray. Our 4 defenders do not stray outside that. So anybody that's going to be hitting a cross is going to have to face either Watts if it's down one side, or Watson on the other, or if it's a little bit further up, as this one was, the deep cross, they're going to have to face the wide striker, wide forward like Odin or McElhenney, and they're not going to be too defensively aware. They won't know all the dark arts that fullbacks do know defensively. So I do think against a team that look as skilled in the air as Bradford did, I couldn't believe my eyes when I thought, we've lost an header, and it's a goal. I know it was a bit of a dink and a deflection. I get that. But for me, the idea of playing narrow, as we seem to, very narrow against a team that are great in the air, from what I can tell, even without, I think Andy Cook came on as a sub, didn't he? It wasn't even starting the game. I think that was a little bit suspect. I'm not a big Neil Wood critic, but I think that was a debatable decision to play that narrow against that opposition.
Yeah, I think where you're saying about blocking the ball early, we're League Two players, and I think the one thing difference in our last few games where Smith has been scoring towards the 10 before is we've been putting the ball in early. So it's one of them in this league. That's an opportunity to get a goal, is get the ball in early. We prior to that have been tending, let's make sure all the defenders are back. Let's make sure everyone's behind. Let's pass it side, what have you. Getting the ball in early in this league, you can't necessarily blame, I think, people closing down quite as much, because I just don't think they're not that close to the ball to a certain extent. They're not, as in the Premier League players, the Championship players are a couple of steps ahead of us, so to say, the league, as you would say. So I think for them early balls, I think any team in this league, anyone who plays them, I think it's probably one of the toughest balls you will face as a centre back or a keeper. Them early balls in this league, League One, League Two, so to say. And we've done it recently, and obviously Bradford did it perfectly. And like I said, I credit Bradford for well done to them, rather than us, we was bad or we was poor or Tom King should have been. I just credited it. Well done, good goal. Let's move on. Let's get one back ourselves.
I think that's it. I mean, obviously we lost, and it doesn't matter who it's against, how many goals it is. A loss is loss. You come away with no points. But I think, especially for the away fans travelling, whoever went, they play going home thinking, well, do you know what? I've seen some great football. Like overall, I've seen a great match. At the end of the day, we want our team to win, but we also want to be entertained. We've said this many times on the podcast. There was we talk about the first 6-7 games where we played very fluid, intense, high intensity football. Then we had a lull, and then come back to Danny's point where he's starting to see the tempo rise again, where we're playing with a little bit more intent and a little bit more trying to get the ball and get it forward. We are seeing differences in Watt and Galbraith now. Look at Galbraith and how much he's changed his game in the last 4 or 5 games. Those balls that usually it would just come tucking in, get the ball, nice little 5-yard back, and doing absolutely nothing with it. He is trying to turn on the half turn. He is trying to get ball forward, and he's trying to progress further forward up the pitch. So I think there has been and Danny goes on about tactics and things like that on these pods, but there has been a shift, I think. Now, whether that's just a shift because Neil was changing things, or we're just starting to play. Maybe the first 6 games was a buzz because you got a new manager, some new players in, and we just had a bit of a six game buzz. But maybe now we are just settling into the way that Neil would want us to play. We're getting a bit more of a settled team. We've got players coming back. We knew McElhenney would make a big difference. I mean, Stevie Mallon, I think he's gone back to Turkey. I don't know where he is, to be fair.
He was there. He was with the squad. He was walking on the pitch. So he wasn't on the bench.
Where is he?
He was actually at Bradford.
What's happening though? Oh,
he's obviously just getting his fitness. Like say, if he's obviously got a certain, he's obviously trying to over-strengthen or strengthen the injury rather than throwing him back in. That must be what they're doing.
I hope so.
Yeah. Well, anyway, going to what you said before, mentality. So again, players and fans. So with fans, boring football, we're winning 1-0 or drawing 0-0. I want to see exciting football. See exciting football, get beat 0-0. I want 3 points. It changes and what have you. I think it's same with the players. We're currently going through a period where what Neil would set in motion is suiting how we play. So the mentality of the away teams, how they set up, how they play, and our mentality, we're hitting the right games at the right time, and hopefully it'll last and last and last, so to say. But like I say, I'm sure there'll be more ups and downs, but I think things are just clicking into place. All the hard work, what's been done, is currently when we're on the pitch, and sometimes it takes coincidences, takes luck, things are just actually going right for us, and it's giving confidence. And what at Bradford was 300% better than he was at Salford, because I think I said it looked as though it was just too big for him again. At Bradford, he was full of confidence. He was twisting. He was fake passing. He was moving it about. And like I say, it's a difference in mentality. Like I say, he looked like a scared little rabbit at Salford. But like I say, maturity for like I say a young lad. 3 months later than the last match we played him, whenever it is, he looks like a different player. He looked like a different player because of confidence and because things were clicking, I think, for people around him. Like your mate Galbraith was like, he was just a headless chicken. He was just running everywhere, so to say. That lad's just got energy and he's got ability. But he's got the energy he's got. I reckon he actually pulls a coach home.
I had one thing about just a general point about what we're saying here is that when I've noticed in terms of, we're not talking about possession this pod at all, and I've not looked at the possession stats, so I don't really know where we stand. I would say, I know one of Martin's points is that we always tend to do better when we sub 50. When we don't control the ball, we tend to do better.
It was 52-48 to Salford.
The Bradford game.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, and it did feel like a bit of an end-to-end job. But for me, I genuinely think now that what Neil Wood is intent on is not possession. It's about territory. So if you look at what we were doing in that game, we were, you could say we were playing quite direct, really, at times, you know. And the phrase that keeps coming to mind for me is that if we're going to fail in a passing move, let's fail faster and start again, and let's just get rid of it and reset. Whereas I think back in the bad old days of the game you mentioned at home against Bradford and at home against Stockport County, that was the worst. I keep saying it's the worst time. That we would take forever to try and get out of our own half. We're not interested in that anymore. We're getting out of our own half sharpish. It's a quick early crossfield ball from Watt. It's a channel ball towards Bailey. It's something towards Smith on the halfway line to knock down and link up. So, and even if we hit a ball to no one into the opposition half, we're not bothered about that because our pressing now, we're like rabid dogs, you know, which we were not 4 to 6 weeks ago. And the last thing I wanted to say was this: is that I was looking at our body language each time we conceded. We didn't care, and I mean we didn't care in the sense that we came out again. Let's get back. You know, our tempo off restarts where we conceded was mega quick. You know, we were still at it. The heads didn't go down. So that mentality that we've got at the minute seems unshakable from what I can see.
Yeah, like as you mentioned, the further we can keep the ball up the field, the more chances of it come.
Yeah,
plain and simple. We're passing it side to side in our own edge of our own box and stuff like that. That's worthless. We're never about score from there, so to say. So the further we can play up the field, the further we keep that ball. And as you said, we're actually trying longer things to keep the ball there. And if we're losing it, as you say, it's a good thing because it means we've got an opportunity to win it back.
Okay, exactly.
I mean, I know a lot of the new era of football is, again, playing out from the back, waiting for opportunities, waiting for your midfielders to make runs, where it creates a bit of space, somebody to tuck into that space, and that's kind of like the new football. But it's what I coach my kids, and again, it's different. They're not professionals, and it's about they're completely about learning development. But I say to them, do the basics in your own half. We get the ball from the back and we get it into the opposing half as quickly as possible. Then we express ourselves. Then you get the ball, you make runs, you do a skill, you do a turn, and that's, I said, I'd rather you lose the ball up there. Let's get the ball, get it in there, because to your point there, Danny, if you're playing it from the back, King's playing at the back, and we've played it at the back, you're giving the opposing team to regroup, get structured, get shape, and you're playing into their game. Whereas if you play it quick from the back and they're still running back towards their own goal, they're not organised. So you've got the edge, you've got the ball, they're running around, and that's where you cause a confusion. Can we get it there quick? We've got pace up front. If we can get it into their feet nice and quick, and then the midfielders come and support, that's where we get the danger. And that's why I mentioned, look at the possession stats. And I know, okay, we edged it against Bradford, but the game before, just check there, we beat Grimsby 4-1. We had 40%.
40-60, yeah.
Same against Barrow. All right, we didn't win. Yeah. And all right, yeah, they should have had more possession because we had down to 10 men. But again, 60-40 in Barrow's favour. So I think our better performances, that tells me that when we play certain teams, we are playing quicker. We are out the back. We are trying to get the ball forward and create. And to be fair, I wouldn't call it direct football. When we played Bradford, not Bradford, but Grimsby and Barrow, I didn't look at that and go, it's direct football, it's route one. We was playing football. It was just that, like, for instance, the goal against Barrow, Watt looked up on the half turn, one touch, looked up, I pop it into Smith. There's a couple of plays that he might knock it down, and Smith's got the confidence at the moment that he's going, I'm going for goal. I can get, and he had to get power back on. I know he's putting power back on the ball, but he still had to get a bit on that. Anyway, going off on a bit of a tangent there, but I think we can safely say the way that we've played over the Christmas period, it would have been nice to have at least 7 points. Yeah. We haven't. We've got 4.
Yeah.
So do you think we should have beat Bradford?
I mean, so. Okay, wait. To give an answer there, I thought. A minute. let me go. Let me have an hour. I thought a draw would have been a fair result for both teams. If I'm trying to be unbiased for Salford and not trying to take anything away from Bradford, I thought it was that good of a game. Even some of the Bradford fans have give credit to Salford, going, "You came here, you came to play, and it was a good game." I actually thought when we equalised and made it 2-2, I actually thought we was going to go on and win it. I thought once we score that goal, I thought we're winning this. We're winning this.
Go on, Dan. Did you think we should have won or not, or draw, or what?
I definitely think we were in with a shout, because I think it was just the urgency that we have, and you know, and I think we've had that now for a good few games. I keep looking at that Carlisle game as where we got heavily beaten on the scoreline, but that was the time. Going back to what Gav said a minute or so ago, we started to put more players in the half. We basically played 4 centre forwards, I think, in that game, or at least 3. Smith, Tolaj, possibly Hendry was playing. I can't quite remember, but
yeah, I remember the game.
Yeah, so I think we could have, and I think when we play like we did, we give ourselves a big chance. And the last thing I just want to say is about being on the front foot. I think now, and I noticed it especially in the Bradford game, we're playing defensively like other teams are going to take a bad touch, and you can even look at it at the Galbraith goal against Grimsby. Look at how he just sails onto that ball like effortlessly, like he glides onto it. And I know he's a great mover, but I think now Ibu's doing it. Yeah, it's a bit of a disco queen. We just weren't doing that. You'd see Ibu like worried, stood back and looking at people like, how are they going to beat me? And now it's not. He'll take a bad touch, and I'm gonna race up the wing. Ryan Watson going on the outside of someone, I think, in the first few minutes against Grimsby. There's such a shift. We'll be here all night, you know.
A mentality, so to say, like you said.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'll put back in. The reason I said that is because I've got an opinion as well, and it sort of sticks something out a little bit of a negative for the game. But like I said, I think a lot of people were saying, "Oh, Salford should have won. Salford were better." Blah blah blah. I think if that game was played 10 times, fantastic football. I thought, great game. As you could say he was bad, he did this, but I think it was just a great game of football. I think Salford would have won 5 and Bradford would have won 5. I think it was that sort of game. But if someone from Bradford said, no, actually, I think we probably win 6 out of 10 and you win 4 out of 10, I'd go, actually, you're probably right. And the reason I said that is because they used 3 good subs. We didn't use a sub.
No.
We had Luke Bolton at right back, who can cross the ball better than anyone else in our team, give or take. And he was at right back. We could have moved him forward. We could have put Low on. We could have put Tolaj on. We could have put Bielko on, whatsoever. They use their subs better, and they got a goal straight away from using the subs. So that's where I think they was a step better than us, and I think we was poor. The football side of it, I think both teams were great. I think Salford were fantastic to what we've been seeing. Both teams wanted to have a go to say we're better than you. But just to pick the finer points, their 3 subs changed it for them when they needed it changing, and we didn't make a substitute. That sort of like, hit me a little bit. Because I actually, like I say, I actually love that game of football. Even though we got beat, I thought it was just a great game of football. And like I said, that's what you want to see as a fan. Well, no, we want 3 points, actually, bastards.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, towards the end of that game, I mean, how Bailey's missed that, I don't know. I don't know. Only he will know. But I mean, those type of goals, you know, people might berate Bailey going, "Oh, he's crap." I've seen a few comments saying that Bailey's shocking. You know, again, like the whole 11 people that was on the pitch, they all had good games. Yes, he missed, but that's happened to so many people, to even the best players on the planet.
I actually thought he was our worst player, to be honest. I thought he
was our best.
Did you? But also I don't blame him for missing that either. I think 7 times out of 10 you miss that one. That's not an easy. It wasn't an easy. It bounced up. It wasn't easy to put that in. Again, in opinion, I think 7 times out of 10 you miss it. That one, it wasn't easy. So I wouldn't. Although I thought he had the weakest game out of the lot, and he should have been changed. The other games, I think he's been really good. I'm not saying I think he's a really good talent. I think he's like we call him Keith Tallack for Bradford. He's like he was last year. So this time next year, hopefully, he'll be like him, so to say. But yeah, I wouldn't blame him for that shot. It was a tough one. If that would have gone in, it would have been like yeah. But he probably would have done a groin injury or something. Oh.
It's like a quote from Del Boy, that this time next year.
This time next year, that boy.
Yeah. So look, it's I suppose to sum it up, I would have been happy with 7 points. I didn't think we was going to win every game and take 9 points. 7 points was kind of, I hope that's what we get, keeps us in there. I think the draw against Bradford just keeps us tied to Bradford. We would have done, but there's still a lot. There's still half a season to go yet, and I think to your point, Gav, I think you're saying about the ups and downs. There's going to be a few more of them, not just for us, for many teams. So as long as we keep playing the game, because look, even though we only took 4 out of 9 points, we haven't really got many bad things to say about any of those games. So I think that leads us into Northampton. And to be fair, this will be a test. This will be a test, in my opinion, of where we actually are and potentially how the second half of our season. I actually think it's a good game to play, get it out of the system, get it out of the way. But I also think it will keep us on the sharp edge to, if we get something from this game. And I say I know people listen to this saying it should be 3 points, but at home it's not one of those games that's a given that we should be getting 3 points at home against Northampton. But if we can get something out of the game and we play well, that'll be enough for me. If we get a point and play like we did against Bradford and it's a good game, I'll be happy with that. That shows that actually when we play some of the lesser teams, we're gonna tear people apart. Just a couple of stats before we go into the. So we're 11 points behind Northampton currently, but we have a game in hand, so could be 8 points, and then if we win, maybe 5. Who knows? And then that shows that you're actually thereabouts with the top 3. It's not, you're not a million miles away 5 points. However, my concern is because I do think defensively we're still a little bit. We know what we've got going forward, but we're still conceding goals. And I think when you've got some like Sam Hoskins on 15 goals so far in the season, I think you're going to be a little bit careful.
However, the last 3 as well, isn't he? I think.
Yeah, he's always on fire, isn't he? But just one other thing before I send it over to you guys. Did you know we've got a brand new top scorer at Salford? Matt Smith. He's on 5 goals. Come on. BTA, where's he gone? He's gone West Brom. Forget about exactly. We've actually got a striker who's a leading goal scorer at Salford who's still there. And then
he'll be sold this month.
And then another talking point, which is we'll talk about signings and potential signings later on. But obviously now this might filter into the Northampton game. Obviously we just signed Chappers has gone back to his parent club. We've brought in another lone keeper in Alex Cairns from Fleetwood. He's obviously more in senior when it comes to an age perspective. But he's third choice keeper at Fleetwood, so I don't think he's going to take King's place. But what do you think, guys? Is he going to take King's place on Saturday? And how do you think we're going to fare against Northampton?
Could be me.
I think so. Yeah, Gav's just saying his mic's not working again.
He's got it shut. That's fair enough. So I know very little about the keeper, so I don't know whether he's a good enough quality to be anything like our 1B option. I'm not sure, but I'm interested to see how we do against, I think they're third, aren't they, Northampton? Yeah. I believe from what I saw. So that's a proper test. But it's all about referring back to Gav's points here. But remember when he talked about when we played against Port Vale, and he said that their approach was that they treated us like a League One team, and they made it a very open game. I don't know how Northampton are playing this year. They're doing well. I don't know if they're playing very open, and they've got a lot of technical players, which probably would be good if they do, because that's probably what we're good at. Unsure, and I'm unsure as well how we're going to play, because I don't know if you both noticed this against Bradford. I thought, is Watt playing as the third centre half? Watt was so often between the centre backs against Bradford. I was like, okay, well that's interesting. And the full backs were pushed on a bit. So I just wonder now, he's got a few different little formations and ideas he can play. I don't think we're playing a true back 3, but I'd be very interested to see how we hold our own now with confidence. I know Shep's not fit. But McElhaney's doing well. Narty's back, although I will just give a little bit of a caveat on Narty, that he's not dominating. He's not the be all and end all that's come back after his injury that I thought he was, and he looks to be getting shoved around a lot. I don't know quite whether he's got his full fitness. I don't know, and I don't think we're playing in a way that requires Nate's ability on the ball, because, as we said before, we're about getting it forward quicker, and that's being left to Watt and people like that. So I'm very interested to see what it's going to be like on Saturday, because I'd love to see us continue this run, and I'd be very happy. As I said in a pod about two or 3 weeks ago, a creditable draw against the good teams, fine with me.
Gav?
Turn it back on. Similar to what Dan said to a certain extent. A couple of things stand out. One, it's 12:30, so it's an early kickoff and it's on Sky, so it's on with TV. Should that matter? No, but it will. You mentioned playing as good as we played against Bradford. As long as we don't get beat, I'm not particularly bothered how we play this Saturday. This is a very, very tough match. When we played them at Northampton, I remember I went down there, and for some reason they were absolutely scared of us in the first half. They were scared of us. I've been to Northampton a couple of times, what have you, and we played them, and they're normally a really strong team. And I thought, this isn't Northampton who we normally play against. And we got that goal. It was Galbraith, my mate. Super strike, bottom right-hand corner, wasn't it? The second half, they played like a proper Northampton team. They were really, really on the ball. And if they're playing with confidence, like I think the last 3 games were 1 loss, drawn, 1 drawn, 1. That's last 5 games, ain't it? But yeah, they've got confidence. If they come out of the stalls like they did in the second half at home, then I think it's going to be an extremely tough game. I did say this about Bradford, mind you, but like I said, I definitely don't think they'll come out like they did at their ground, because they looked a bit sheepish. They looked as though they were a little bit scared of us, and maybe a lot of hype, and maybe at lower levels you don't see as much as the other teams. Like they'll see the highlights on TV, what have you, but they won't really see much, and they're like, oh, Salford. And the big thing I noticed, looking through the stats like you were mentioning about their third, aren't they, is they score a lot of goals. They score goals. They love scoring goals. I think they're plus 15. They are. We're plus 7.
Yeah, they're the highest scoring team in the league.
Right,
and the problem is with Northampton, although they're not top of the table, I'd rather play Leyton Orient than Northampton personally, because I think every time we've played Northampton, you will not get, very rarely will you get a bad Northampton team for 90 minutes.
Definitely.
And like you said there, Gav, they might have been absolutely petrified in that first 45 minutes, but then they came out in that second half and created a lot of chances. Just played really good football, and we're going to have to withstand at least a good 45 minutes from them, if not a very good 90 minutes, and we are going to have to match them.
They started off the season quite poorly. That's why I think they were a little bit off. And you said you prefer play later on. I'd prefer get this game out of the way.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Let's play
get the game.
However good or bad we are, they are. Let's try our utmost not to get beat. A point in this game will be an excellent game. And prior to the Bradford game, I wanted, because we keep talking about Watt and Galbraith and whatsoever. I was about to. We've mentioned Theo a couple of times, but I was about to say actually, Theo's he's a rock in our team. He's actually probably one of them. Then we played Bradford and he looked a little bit all over the place. And he wasn't that bad, but I was like, oh, shaky a bit. We need Theo to be on his ball this Saturday. Like you say, Jon Hoskins, what's he got? 60. Oh, but he plays a bit deeper and wide, doesn't he?
Yeah, and he's only about 5'4", but he just
put him in his pocket.
Yeah, well, the thing is with Hoskins, I watch the highlights every week, so are the best I can, and the goals that he scores, it's not him creating something out of nothing. He's not a magician on the ball. He's a good player. I'm not knocking that. What I'm trying to say is his goals are not because of his own doing. It's simply he's got a very high IQ when it comes to football, because he just gets into the right places at the right time. And that's played the hardest part of football. that shows that he's seen that he's playing the game in his head, and he's going, it's going to fall here, and it does, and it just seems to get on. So everything that he touches turns to gold, and he's not just done that for this season. He's done it last season and the season before, and that goes the same for Northampton. Northampton is the one team that you look at the beginning of the season that you know are going to be in the top 7. Northampton, without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah, I think Nati and Vassell are about to be massively important, and I think we'll see the real Matt Smith. I think he'll do nothing because they're a decent team. I'll jump past what I just said then because that was a bit harsh. So the goalkeeper, Alex. So I don't think he'll be straight in the team unless they brought him in to say, right, if you want this jersey, this number 12 jersey, this number 1 jersey, and you want this last 6 months of a season, and they chuck him in, and they're thinking King's gone in summer. King's still got another year left on his contract, but they could easily move him on. If they're about to play him, I think they chuck him in against Northampton. But he's only played 1 game this season, and that was an FA Cup game. So I wouldn't expect him to start. Over the last 10 years, I think he's played 284 games, which he's always saying he's playing 28 games a season. He's not got any 48, 50 game seasons. So whether he gets injured a bit as well, I'm not sure. But he's like I say, he's been Rotherham and Fleetwood Championship and League One for the majority. He started at Leeds. I believe he's a good quality keeper, but I'm not seeing anything which says he plays a full season. It always seems to be 30-something games to a certain extent, which is suspect because we tend to get injuries with us. That worries me a little bit, but do you gamble and chuck him in? Maybe not this weekend, but next weekend say, you can have this rest of the season. Don't make a mistake. Play I want you to. And this is that you can play the game. And you can then, at the end of the season, go back to your club and you can go, right, who wants me? And have an opportunity to next season move on to a League One club or a Championship club because they've seen him. Or does he sit on the bench and do nothing?
Anything to add there, Danny?
I've got a bit of a cold, so I've got a bit of a tickly period, so I'm all right for the time being. Thanks.
Is that like when I turned it down?
It's all right, Danny. Me and Gav have got this pod.
Well, yeah, he's only played, like I said, 1 game this season. That was an FA Cup game for Hartlepool because he was on loan at Hartlepool.
Yeah,
he only played 1 game.
7. He went on emergency loan for 7 days, so that's
that's what it was. His birth it went for 7 days.
Yeah, I mean, right. I think. Like I was saying, how old was Chappers? Early 20s. So obviously we brought in a 30-year-old goalkeeper.
30, I think, yeah.
He's obviously. I looked through Fleetwood's team. You got obviously Jay Lynch, who's the number 1. Then you've got a Polish keeper as number 2, and he's number 3. He's not even in the squad. So he's obviously chomping to get out and play some football. He obviously is relishing. Listen to his intro that he did. He's not. He by the sounds of it, he's not come here just to sit on the bench and be number 2, because he was saying things like, if the gaffer puts me in straight away, he's coming to test Tom King. He's got no loyalty to Tom King. Yeah, he got goalkeepers union, but he wants that starting place. And I think one or two things is going to happen. It's either going to be a rocket up Tom King's, because to be fair, having Chapman there, he's done great, and wish him all the best for the rest of his career, because he's when he's played, he's done a good job. But he was never going to squeeze King out. Whereas now I think this guy's coming. He's an experienced senior player. Who's not past his best. He's going to push Tom King. I don't think he'll go put in Northampton. I could be wrong, but I think maybe he's just come in a bit too late. But most certainly, we've got a lot of games coming up, and I certainly he will get his chance, and it'll be down to him to keep it. So
I wonder if he can kick.
No, he's got a leg amputation.
I wonder if he can catch. Anyway,
he's 6 foot, so again, he's good height as well. 6 foot, 30-year-old, and like I say, and realistically, he's got another 6 to 7 years in him, good years in him. So he wants a contract in this summer, I'd expect, for somebody. So it's not some young lad, like you were saying, who can sit on the bench, keep it warm. He wants to play. He's about to be down the mind his ear, saying, "Come on, I want my chance. I want my chance. I want my chance."
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure Chappers. he never struck me as the type of player who I know what you mean, Gav, but he certainly didn't. I know some young people might think that, but he never struck me as the type of player that was just happy sitting on the bench. I think.
No, I don't mean that. I mean he's not. He's 20-year-old. He's coming. He's about to use the experience and get the games he can, but he hasn't come to actually kick someone out of their own team, so to say.
Correct.
As in
Correct.
that was what it was. Sorry, not a bench warmer. If he was had the opportunity to play every game for Salford, he would have played and been fantastic, Chapman. 100%. It's more when you're a 20-year-old kid learning your trade. He probably learnt as much sitting on the bench watching and was ready. But a young man who's come at 30, he's wants. I want knock him out of this team. I don't give a monkeys who Tom King is. I want my contract, whether it's with Salford or another team in summer. Because at the moment, his third choice with Fleetwood, his career's going to a certain extent. He's about to want to be on that pitch more than a young lad who's learning. Because you can learn a lot by watching from a bench as well. So Chapman, like I said, I didn't mean it quite.
Yeah.
Anything like you turned it round on me, you horrible person.
All right, calm down. That's why I put a little disclaimer in before I'm going. I know what you mean, but. Yeah,
when anyone says, "I know what you mean," Dan,
look, just because I lost
can you
some
check
of
your
your money on
contract
black,
and see if it's same as mine?
Do we dare do predictions for this game on Saturday, or?
Unfortunately, we have to, don't we? I think.
Is it by law? Is it?
Yeah, it's by the law of Martin.
I'm going to go for 1-0 Salford. Sorry, just said it.
No, we don't want to do predictions this week, do we, Matt? Daniel, should we just leave predictions and go straight on to January transfers? Dan?
For me on this one,
is my microphone
I wouldn't like to think we would lose again creditably, because that's not going to do as much good in confidence-wise. But it possibly feels like it could be maybe a 2-1 loss, although I'd love to think otherwise. 2-1 again.
Stay at home on Saturday, Dan.
Yeah, it's on TV,
watch it on Sky.
Yeah.
I think 4-1 loss. No, I'm going, and I'm hopeful. I expect me a 1-1.
I think some. Yeah. To be fair, in all fairness, I've gone for a win. Gav's gone for a draw. Dan's gone for a win. And that's it, isn't it? It's going to be one of those games. It could go. It could go anyway. And I think there'll only be one goal in it. So I think we're all right on our predictions. Technically, can't all be right, but you know what I mean. I don't know why we mention this now, because there's probably nobody listening to this podcast at this point, like an hour in. But £5. Obviously, it's on Sky. But, yes, you can watch it on Sky, but no better feeling. Get yourself into the ground. £5 for an adult ticket. It'd be nice if we can fill it, or pretty much fill it. If we can get total crowd capacity. Let's say, are they going to sell out? But I'm sure they'll bring.
But you get 3-8.
Well, yeah, I was going to say about 4. That'd be good. But yeah, get yourself down. £5. Look, if it's the worst game you've ever been to, you've only lost a £5.
Yeah, this week and next week are both for £5. It's one of them. Get down, have a bit of fun, cheer it on. For a £5, and what is it? Is it £2 for kids? I'm not sure.
£2 for kids, I think. Yeah.
That's the figure. It's an afternoon out, isn't it? Like I said, so the more people who come and join in, have some fun, or even just come along, bring the kids, and then just send us some messages, tell us how bad our predictions are after you watch it, so to say.
Yeah, so what do you know about it? What do you know about podcasts?
Well, like I said, for a £5, it's like saying £2 for a kid. You're not going anywhere in Manchester for take the kids out for that.
That should be the new name of the podcast and predictions. That's all we do, predictions.
Yeah. I just talk shit.
Oh, by the way, we haven't said good evening to Neil Wood tonight. Good evening, Neil.
Evening, Neil.
Right, I think that's it, chaps. We're just gonna. I know that.
Thought you wanted a quick one on the transfers, or as well.
I did. He didn't let me finish.
Oh, time's up. I've got to go.
Transfers. When we covered Alex Cairns from Fleetwood. Look, we can go through loads of rumours, but the two that seems to be, well, there's one dominant at the moment, and there's one that was rumoured. The rumoured one was Josh Hawkes at Tranmere, which is a starting 11 player. Off the top of my head, I've not really paid too much attention. I can't pretend to be a Josh Hawks fan because I don't know him.
What's his position? I'm not even.
Tranmere, I think he's a winger.
A winger, left
Ish.
or right? Ish.
Both.
Plays with one of his feet or both.
Something like that.
Oh, okay.
He kind of runs on his hands. But I think the one that's, I suppose, has probably got more juice in it is probably this Tony Watt. I mean,
Aberdeen,
we've got Elliot Watt. We'd have Tony Watt. We'd have Watson. Ed's gone.
We'd have Martin Cooper Watt.
Exactly, pinging balls from the halfway line. But he's a striker from Dundee. His probably little claim to fame was he had a short stint at Celtic and got the winning goal against Barcelona in the Champions League.
Yeah.
So he's a good player.
His last match as well, I think on his Instagram or somewhere, put this is a very special goal for me. His last one he's just scored, which sort of could have said his last game he played, he scored.
Yeah. It does seem like there's a lot of momentum, there's loads of papers kind of saying the same story. It's almost like the way they've left it is Dundee have allowed Tony Watt to travel to talk, and to be fair, we'll give anybody the money that they want, don't we?
Yeah.
So
and
that's
it's just like playing for Barcelona, playing for Salford. So he's got experience playing against them. So he's probably he'll feel at home.
Oh yeah, it's just that we're playing red, but and then
he'll fit in football.
Well, exactly. Well, that as well, yeah. Tiki-taka. What's the Iniesta? But obviously, he'll fit right in. I'm sure he'll know Hendry because obviously Hendry came from Kilmarnock, wasn't it? So, yeah. But it'd be interesting to see if that striker did come in. Let's say he signs, announced tomorrow, he's eligible to play Saturday. I'd expect him to be on the bench. I wouldn't want Smith to lose his place because at the moment he's doing enough to keep his place. So we'll see.
Just on the point of Smith, I mean, it was obvious from the start of the season that Neil Wood doesn't really want to play in a way that suits Matt Smith. He's found a way of doing that, as we said before. He's incorporated Smith in a good way, but I think if Wood gets, say, a 4 or 5 year run at Salford, then I don't think he'd purposefully sign a player like Smith. I don't know what this prospective transfers physical build is. I've not seen it, but I think he'll be looking for clever. I tell you, he's been to university, Matt Smith. So I'm not saying he's not clever, but smaller, cleverer, intricate Galbraith's types, McElhenney types. Because if you remember the start of the season, the link up between, it was a through ball from Brandon to McElhenney or a reverse through ball from between them two, just constantly hitting teams. Whereas I think he's playing this way to get the best out of our team. But I think he's got his eye on a different vision for us ultimately than playing with verticality, which is the new way of calling direct football.
Yeah, strikers with pace. I think if we can bring.
Yeah.
And for January, like I said, I'm not about mentioning any names and stuff like that. To be honest, it's worthless. I believe we need a right back, just because of the injuries. Put in Galbraith at right back or put in Bolton at right back. It sort of spoils our game. So I don't think it's a good option, although it's got us through December. I don't want to say we need a left back, so I'll say we need a left-footed player who can cross the ball off a sixpence. If you've got one of them, I think, who is it who has a fantastic left foot? Is it Mansfield, who scores a lot and whips the ball in? If we can get a decent crosser on that left who can whip it in early, whatsoever. And other than that, I think we need 1 or 2 strikers, fast, nippy strikers. I definitely think 1 or 2. And like I said, midfield, I think we've got plenty of players to a certain extent. Centre back, I think we've probably got enough. But like I say, we can get a left-footed, decent crosser, a right back to cover the injuries, and 2 strikers. I think that would probably make me happy. More than likely 1 than 2 strikers, so we'll probably bring 3 in, hopefully.
Yeah.
But who knows? Like you say, it's whatever happens on the 1st of February, Neil Wood's got to move on and play with what we got. If we got someone or we haven't got someone, it is what it is. He's got 3 months to get us promoted from then.
I mean, the only hope I have is we do our business. I'm sure we've done, due diligence and stuff, but I want to get the signings done earlier rather than leave it to the last minute, because I want us to look. Let's just, if we're going to go for promotion, just get the players that we need. If you've highlighted them, go and get them. Don't negotiate to a certain degree, but just get them. I know that's easy to say when you've got money. I'm not trying to sound, I don't know what I'm trying to sound like, but you know what I'm trying to get to.
Got to get a goal scorer. Full stop war for me. Full stop.
We do need a goal scorer. To be fair, I know there was a few people saying about Tony. He's only scored one in so many games. The problem you've got in January is if somebody's actively scoring goals, they ain't selling them, or are you going to pay the price for it? Nobody's going to want to let go of their leading goal scorer. So you've got to try and find somebody that maybe will do a job between now and then. So you maybe highlight somebody in the summer, you bring somebody, spend a bit more money, bring somebody in at the beginning, or So look, I think it's a bit too late this season to be bringing in a 20+ goal scorer, but we do need other options and other qualities that we can. And to your point, Nana, I think it's pretty obvious in what you said there was we know Smith isn't a Neil Wood player, but he got to the point where he knew he had to change. He said he was open to change right at the beginning, and that it came a time where I'm going to have to. It wasn't a last roll of the dice, but it was getting close where he thought, I'm going to have to try, because if I don't, I'm going to get in the net, because he's there, gives us something different. And like I say, look at the last couple of games. I wouldn't necessarily say we played direct. We've just played to our strengths, and he's doing well. So I'd like him to keep his place at the moment. But for sure, going forward, I don't think it'd be interesting to see what happens at the end of the season, whether he stays or goes. I don't know contracts. I don't know who's out of contract, but I believe we've got about 13, 14 players out of contract at the end of the season. So
I don't think there's any issue with Smith getting some games in now and then. I think last season highlighted for me. So I think Smith came in and a few players came in, and we had some cracking matches that the first half of the end of the season, that's after January, the last 10 matches I'm running, it was just too much for us. We needed that striker with pace to break the back line, and Smith just wasn't it. We weren't getting chances. We weren't putting the ball in the back of the net enough times. So yes, I think Smith's there, but I don't think we'll get over the line with Smith. We need an extra striker who, for the last 3-4 games this season, is just running, what have you, bang, 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 bang. We need a Martin Cooper in there.
Exactly. Here when you want, Neil, anytime.
Yeah, that's the sort of why I think we need a striker. I think Matt Smith's going to do a great job this next month or so. I think it's made up for this January, February is fine, but going towards the end of the season, has he got enough to get them goals in? Last season, it showed that he hadn't. And the style of play and everything else there, I just think we need an extra player in there, if not 2 strikers, so they can rotate them and change things about and what's have you. Because if you want to get promoted out of this league in April, you've got to be better than everybody else in the last 10 matches, 8 to 10 matches, so to say.
There's one little thing that just worries me, and it's because if I was going to say where I want us to improve or upgrade is left back, because I've not got the stats, but I'd love to know how many of our attacks go down the left wing as compared to the right. I would say it's 75% down the left for me, from what I see. So, and I know we've said on the podcast before that it's like maybe it's gone up to like a 2 in 10 good crosses from Ibu.
Right, still 1 in 10.
Okay, so yeah, so it's on the low side. But if we got to like a 5 or 6 out of 10, then I'm not sure I really like to watch that team as much, because that's all we do. And I don't like us. I like the fact we've got a lot of different moving aspects to our game. We can attack in about 5 or 6 different ways at the minute. We've got Smith, we've got McElhenney, we've got Bailey, we've got Galbraith. Whereas if we just like head on a stick, nice cross from the left into the box, and again and again.
No, but we're already doing that. So we had someone who could do it proper. So I
think it would amp up even more. Is my point. I think we'd rely on it too much and would become predictable and boring. So it's just a concern of mine.
You stick to your 1 in 10s.
All right, okay.
If you get this far in the pod, it's a good point. It's a good point to have an opinion on. So, who agrees with Dan and who doesn't?
I wanted Luke Bolton up on the right wing especially with second half against Bradford, because I think his crossing ability, and I think if that change would be made in the second half, we might have won 4-3.
For a minute, I thought you was Jonathan Ross crossing.
If he was quassing all the way from the right hand side, no, I can't.
Luke Bolton is a low crosser, though. Would you agree, Gav, that his tend to be across the ground rather than Ibu's tend to be in the air? Would you go with that?
It's just a better crosser, full stop. I'm not about to say yes or no, but I think I know what you mean, because he tends to actually get in front, get behind the defence. So the idea is keep the ball on the ground and someone taps it in. And Matt Smith probably isn't that guy, but one of the others maybe.
Yeah.
So yeah. But
Guys,
still want better than 1 in 10.
Is there anything either of you want to finish up on?
Yes.
Oh, come here. Some words of wisdom from Gav. Go on.
Words of wisdom. So Saturday, we played at 12:30. Martin, are you buying me a beer?
Are you in the North Stand?
No, but you can pass one through the fence.
You slip a £5
There's a
through the
gate.
railings.
No, there's a gate. You can pass me a pint through, surely.
I might do. Drop us a text message.
Only
I'm not drinking. I'm not drinking.
Well, I'm
I'll
not.
buy
I'm not.
You have to do what I do. Is that your words of wisdom, Gav?
Yeah. Get Martin to. If you see Martin at the match on Saturday, ask him for a pint.
Yeah. See how many different responses you're going to get. Danny, anything you want to end up on, mate?
No, I've kind of said all I want to say. Apart from just the fact that I think we are doing some interesting things with the fullbacks. We're keeping Ibu wide on the left. We're kind of inverting Bolton on the right. So we are playing narrow. I've said it before, and I'm very interested to see if he's going to continue to do that or he's not. So, you know, I don't know how long we've gone, but I love every minute of it anyway. So
this isn't anything to do with Danny's talking then. I just put my hands on my head because I realised, obviously, this Sunday's the 8th. We play next Tuesday, the 10th.
Yeah, Cheltenham.
Yeah, we haven't spoken about Cheltenham, and we're about to have
No, we haven't. We haven't, no.
That's why I just said. That's why I quickly looked at my phone. I thought, what date is it? I'm sure we play again.
Maybe I forgot. I didn't even look that far ahead, to be fair. But in all fairness, we had so much to cover.
Words of wisdom. Can we sort the Martin Cooper out for next week to make sure he does his homework a bit better?
Okay. It's work.
It's only a Popsy Cup anyway, isn't it? They haven't given
Nobody's
us
listening to Nobody's listening to this podcast anyway. It's only us three having a chat.
No free pizza, so why would we want to actually talk about Domino's pizza?
Exactly. Domino's pizza. Yeah. There's a lot of other good places, but Domino's and Pizza Hut's the best.
The Pizza Hut Cup.
Right, gents, let's cut it off there because I think we've done about an hour and a half. Great, longest one ever. Yeah, it's bedtime now. Gents, Gav,
I'm already in bed. I just got to change the background.
With Rousey back, yeah.
Yeah, basically, me and Rouse are in bed here. He's on a bloody ship in the Caribbean. What is it? It'll be about afternoon down there, won't it? It'll be like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. 2 o'clock.
6 hours, 6-7 hours behind, maybe. Well, I'll be there when you be in the rain anyway. Danny, thanks very much, mate.
It's sunny outside. Yeah, 100 degrees, Rousey.
Gav's going off on a tangent now. The Gav running an hour and a half, mate. We don't want to go into 2 hours. Come on, let's keep it quiet now. Let's shut off. Guys, well done. Thanks very much tonight for your input, and see you next week.
Thanks, everyone.
Cheers, guys. All the best.